Welcome to Dropout 22, a GB media production. And for our 22nd episode, we had to bring you something special. And we've done that with a special guest who's travelled the globe to be with us tonight, as well as all of our regular features. It's going to be a belter. Welcome aboard! Dropout 22, episode 22, we had to go the extra mile. We couldn't bring you a Wales win, but we can bring you a special guest who has travelled the globe to be with us tonight. We'll be looking back at Wales' disastrous start against New Zealand, England's fantastic start against Australia. We'll be dipping into the Euros. We've got a new feature, all the regular features. Going to be a belter. Thank you for joining us. Boys, chroeso I Dropout 22 wythnos yma. Guy, wnaethon ni orffen y sioe wythnos diwetha yn gofidio bod falle ti wedi marw. So beth nath ddigwydd wythnos diwetha?
Wythnos diwetha, roeddwn ni mewn Leeds gyda'r gwaith. Basically, roeddwn ni tu fas i tafarn yn cael diod neu dig. Drop ice my ffôn. Dyna diwedd y stori, ond fe i gatref, fe i charge o'r ffôn a gweld fod cyndig neu, cannoedd o messages yn dweud I fi bod wyt ti'n iawn, a roeddwn ni tipsy message on all, so dyna fo.
You're even more boring in Welsh than you are in English. How did you manage that?
I can't remember Welsh. It's 10 years since I left school, so I don't speak it at home.
Right, gents, welcome to Dropout 22. We have got a wonderful show for you tonight. Joining me in the studio, double Andrews. Pat, welcome.
Thank you, good to be back. It's been a long time between drinks.
It has been a long time. Would you like to introduce our special guest for the evening, please?
Yes, coming to you live from Brighton, all the way from Sydney, Australia. That's Mr. Paul Andrews. Here he is. Welcome, Paul.
Very happy to be here, to lend my ignorance to the general ignorance that's already here.
It's all right, Dad. Of course he's not on the show tonight.
Dad.
Milts, welcome aboard, pal.
Evening, how are we?
Very well, very well. We'll kick off with your boys, actually. Milts, a 39-28 win against Australia on Saturday. Two Aussies dip their heads as I speak. What did you make of the performance?
39 points away in Australia. You can't argue. I think Jones said the performance we didn't play that well. We didn't play amazing, but we did play pretty sharp. And bringing Burrell off 29 minutes was a big call, but I think it was definitely the correct call, as we've seen. I thought Ford played well. He's picked a good team for Saturday. I've been trying to convince myself how England aren't going to win on Saturday. I actually, apart from the fact the Aussies just don't lose 2 tests in a row at home, but I actually can't see how England aren't going to win. That sounds very arrogant, but
it's a really good soundbite for next week.
Yeah, there we go. That's big bollocks on the line there, Milts. But you got Ford back at fly half. Noel back on the wing. I think that was the side that most fans wanted to see anyway.
Yeah,
I
think they just got used to them two being 10 and 12, and having a big man at 12 didn't really offer us much going forward. And Farrell's a good defender at 12, so why if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And Ford doesn't have to worry about goal kicking, does he? So he can just play.
Absolutely, and plenty broken with the Aussie performance on the weekend, bros. Boys. We'll go with bros. Paul, what did you make of the Aussie performance, and where did it all go wrong for you?
Curate's egg, wasn't he? Good in patches. Australia scored 4 tries to England's 3, as I understand. They were 10-0 up early, and everything thought was going to roll along. Then the wheels fell off a little bit. We have, of course, the fact that Dan Cole was cheating on Scott Seo, pushing in sideways. Phil Kurtz and Bob Dwyer both said he was cheating, which prompted Joe Marler to tweet that Bob Dwyer's a wanker.
But to be fair, Bob Dwyer is a wanker.
Yes.
But you're not allowed to say that he's a wanker. You can think that he's a wanker, but you can't say it.
Only if it's to Campese you're allowed to call him a wanker.
Now they've changed it up now for the next test. Pocock obviously forced out, but Slipper and Kepu coming in. Those boys went well in the World Cup. Patty, do you see that as a good thing? As a bad thing? What's the crack?
Yeah, I think it's a little reactionary. Dan Coles was cheating, so it was a bit unfortunate on Scotty, who was so fantastic in the World Cup. But I mean, there's so much experience there with Sekope and Mr. Holmes. They're going to know what to do should Dan Coles decide to cheat again. So I think that's a bold call from Checker, but certainly one that will have a positive impact, I feel.
Now, Guy, you got laughed out of the studio last time we brought this up, but you reckon you've got a fix for the scrum and illegal scrummaging and scrummaging on the angle.
I do, yeah. Considering the referee can only really see the hips of the props bending, why don't we have a spider cam in all these modern stadiums to see what angle Dan Cole is actually going in at? Because if we've got Dan Cole going sideways and all the referee can see is whether his head is above his hips, we know he's never going to be able to make a judgment call on it. Even if you have a scrum coach in the PMO box just saying white or gold in this case for the team that's infringing, it'd be a pretty simple fix, and it'd force Dan Cole to go straight.
What do we reckon, boys? Is it a goer having a camera above the scrum there to see who's scrummaging straight, who's scrummaging not straight?
I'm all for innovation, but I just you tell me, you draw up a way how it will work and what it will look like, Guy, and I'll listen to it. But at this stage, I don't want to spend any more time at the scrum at the breakdown than we have to be honest.
Yeah, agree.
Fair enough. Guy, for next week's show, I want you've got a 2-minute presentation to make. I want you to name your case. I want you to say exactly how it's going to work. You're going to present it, and the Dragon's Den will decide yes or no.
I'm already getting labelled boring on you. You don't
You've got 2 minutes now to really, really sex the scrum up. So, you will see how talented you are.
We had a poll.
Doing it on purpose. All 4 of you doing it on purpose.
we had a poll to see how can we make Guy even more boring, have him talk about a scrum. I think that was it.
Right, listeners, if you are still with us, please wipe your eyebrows, wipe your eyelids down, stay awake with us. And Mills, you've already touched on it, but Eddie Jones's changes. It's not often you see someone make a tactical change in the first half and something as cutthroat as taking Burrell off, but it paid dividends. And I mean, for you, what does that tell you about him as a coach and England as a team now?
I think he's very fixed in the way he wants England to play, and if someone doesn't buy into that, a la Chris Ashton, or he's not going to pick him, or he's going to make pretty cutthroat changes. Burrell wasn't doing the job defensively. He wasn't quite doing what he wanted to do, and he just bought him off. I also think people haven't mentioned how much of a confidence boost is that to George Ford, a guy who he's put a lot of his energies into promoting. He must feel pretty good about himself, and part of me thinks maybe it was a plan all along. Maybe the same with Jack Noel as well. He's come on, done well. Now he's picked for the second test. I think his selection's been outstanding so far. Even like keeping Haskell in the team, keeping Rob Shaw in the team. Those guys have paid him back. Haskell was unbelievable on Saturday. He wasn't even like a Haskell. And I think he's just getting paid back by those players more and more. Nothing but positives so far. It'll be interesting to see how he goes when England do eventually lose, but at the moment, let's just roll with it.
No doubt. And obviously, Paul, you're well versed in the Aussie mentality and Eddie Jones's mentality. Is it something as simple as he's an Australian, he's a winner, and that's why England have seen the change that they've seen?
Certainly that's a factor. He is a particular individual. There was comments on stuff I was reading today about how Jones has got the side manipulating space like they didn't manipulate before, in a couple of examples where they took a run down the blind instead of going wide, which drew the defence in and made the gaps. So I think that's particularly what it is. He really is the sort of guy who is very full of himself in terms of expectation. So it is. But I mean, lots of coaches have winning attitudes. You need to be able to back it up, I guess. And he's certainly done that.
He's not the Jose Mourinho of rugby. He's a move which was special one-esque to make a sub at half time, but
Jose Feliciano of it.
Exactly, yeah, thank you. but I think there's way too much being built into it. Oh, King Jones and what have you. He's just given some quality players that kick up the arse, and they're playing much more to their level than they were in the past, and I think that's about it. He hasn't reinvented the wheel, and let's not forget he did preside over the worst period of Australian rugby ever.
Robert Deans did.
That's a chat for another day, I think. But prediction going forward then? I'm going to drop my bollocks there, I'll just put them back in. What do you reckon?
One little statistic for you. Chicka's winning record with Pocock is about 65%. Without Pocock, it's 40%.
I like that statistic.
That's a big blow, isn't it?
That's a massive blow. And
is
his
a big
replacements are nobody really special. So I think
Sean
the-
McMahon's
Is it
a
Sean
special
McMahon coming in?
Yeah, I don't know.
At 8 though?
Well, it's a gamble, but he's got Cliffy Palu on the bench if you need to bring on proper 8, and there's some juice left in Cliffy's legs. I think it'll be hard for England to win in Melbourne, even though they're not a renowned rugby town. They're a sport town. They'll pack it out, and I just can't. I can't see us losing again. We probably will, to be honest, but I can't. I refuse to believe it. So I'm tipping Australia by a good margin. Actually, maybe by 15.
Pat goes Australia by 15. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think the Poms will get up again.
Yeah.
By 5.
Okay. Milts, what do you reckon?
I'm saying England's close, 3 or 4 points.
England by 3 or 4. Guy?
I think it'll come down to goal kicking, actually.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Well,
I
Foley
think.
had a bit of an off day as well on Saturday, didn't he? Very rare for him. So again,
I think that backline, the Aussie backline, doesn't strike fear like it once did for me. And
that's another perfect soundbite there.
Because Owen Farrell's terrifying to watch.
Guy, what do you reckon?
Yeah.
England or Australia?
I think the ref will probably even it up after all the comments this week at scrum time. But I think the England pack is too strong for the Aussie pack at present, and England by a small margin, 3 points.
England by a small margin. I'm with Pat on this one. I'm going Aussie by 12.
Yes.
And on
12.
Pat.
12. Madness.
You give me odds, Milts, and I'll take you up on a bet.
Okay, I'll go to my bookmaker.
Have a little
I'll
think,
let you
and
know.
I'll come back to me. I'll lob a tenner on it, whatever the price. Right, let's go. Pat, stats. It's been a while. Bring them back.
Yo, beauty, ladies and gentlemen, Pat Stats, the Bible, if you will, is we're getting towards the end of the book. So less crazy stats. I have 2 here, but you know what? I'm going to read just one of them out because I saved one. This one is a crazy one, and this is the only rugby. Just to forewarning, I haven't read the whole bit yet, but all I have read was the headline. So let's go with it. The only rugby union fan to cut off his testicles to celebrate a win. Now this distinguished honour goes to Jeff Hewish in Welsh name Welshland, can't pronounce that, in Wales, of course. It was after Wales beat England 11-9 at Millennium Stadium in Cardiff on Saturday 5th of February 2005.
I was there for that.
Now, there's a bit of a history here. So, on the 6th of February 1993, this is 12 years beforehand, at the National Stadium, Wales beat England 10-9 in the Five Nations Championship. So, it was back when it was Five Nations. It would be their last victory for a dozen years, and some of their fans became a little concerned at the lack of success. I'm sure this hits home with some of our presenters here. Jeff Hewish, 31, was one such supporter, so he probably thought he was making a safe bet when he told his friend Gethin Probert, Welshman, and I quote here, "If Wales win, I'll cut my balls off." That is verbatim. Hewish listened to the game on the radio at home. He wasn't even there. And Wales won 11-9 with Gavin Henson clinching victory. Hewish recalls, and I quote again, "After the match, I got up for a pee and saw a pair of wire cutters in the bathroom. Why one keeps a pair of wire cutters in the bathroom is beyond me. Gethin had left them after repairing the chain on my toilet. I remembered what I'd said and thought he had left them for me. I thought, oh no, I haven't got to do anything like that, have I? Then I thought, you can do it. So I started hacking away at my tackle. It took about 10 minutes, and it was quite a lot of pain, but I just kept going. The cutters were blunt, so I had to keep sniffing. I cut my penis as well. There was a lot of blood, but not as much as you would expect. Hewish collected his testicles from the lavatory pan and went to Gethin Provitt's house, but his friend was out, so he walked. He walked to Lee Social Club with his testicles in a plastic blue bag to prove he'd fulfilled his promise. He said, and I quote, "The Lee was packed with rugby fans. I went in and shouted, 'I've done it.' I took my balls out and passed them in the bag to a friend. Some people then laid me on the floor. Friends called an ambulance and put his testicles in a pint of glass of ice. But doctors were unable to reattach them. Later, Hewish said, I think about what happened every day and still haven't come up with a good reason why. I'd had a lot going on and felt a bit down. I can't have kids now, but still want a family. Maybe I'll adopt."
Yeah, I'm sure they'll pick him as a prospective parent.
Yeah,
No problem.
exactly.
Do you know, I actually remember that story when it came out. And Guy, can you remember where he was from?
No, I'm still amazed this is real.
I can. He was from Singenid.
Yeah.
Really? Oh, no, actually, now it doesn't surprise me at all.
Exactly. Sorry to all of our snaggy listeners. And we'll stay in Wales for a recap on New Zealand's 39-21 win over the Welsh on Saturday. Guy, absolutely superb first half. Probably the best I've seen us attack in the best part of 4 or 5 years. And then same old story. Drifted away second half and ended up getting absolutely pumped. What was your assessment of the game?
Spot on, guys. I think we got really tired, and the All Blacks took advantage. They're so clinical. They didn't bomb many chances. We bombed 4 or 5, and that was really the game. On Saturday, I left a message in our WhatsApp group stating that we had a better bench than the All Blacks man for man. I got absolutely ruined, and I'm still getting ruined now for the comment. So I think I need to clarify it.
Go on, please do.
Yeah. Basically, I believe that man for man, we had a better bench than the All Blacks that day. They had a lot of
Chiefs
newbies
players
coming through. Yeah, with people who've been coming, people who are getting a shot now after the World Cup. Our first choice front row, pretty much from the Six Nations, was on our bench. I thought we had a really strong bench. The All Blacks bench came on, performed, and absolutely bossed it. We started making real subs at 72 minutes. So I'd just like to clarify to the boys in the WhatsApp group, stop picking on me. I meant if we put our bench on the same time as the All Blacks, we might have had a shout. But instead of going 15 points down and then putting the bench on, that's how we lost it. I think we personally got tired, and I put the blame squarely on Gatland's shoulders for that, because we had a first choice front row on until after 70 minutes in a test against the All Blacks where they run further, and Sam Warburton said it itself, it's the furthest he's ever run in a test match. So it's no wonder the All Blacks pulled away at the end, and I think no matter how good we were in the first half, it is a 23-man game these days. Michael Cheika says that they are finishers. If they haven't got a chance to actually play, then how the hell are we ever meant to win the game?
Boys, did you get a chance to watch the game on Saturday?
No, we were driving from... Where were we driving from? We were driving from North London to Bristol. So, in fact, we only saw snippets of the Australia game as well, at the service station in Reading, I believe.
Yes.
So it's pointless asking you two then.
Pretty much. All I heard was Wales were doing really well. They were up, and then the Kiwis did the thing that they always do and score a couple of tries at the end and win it. And it was pretty gutting to hear it as someone who obviously hates the Kiwis.
Absolutely. And Paul, I'm sure you've got some insight for us.
Well, you know what they say, rugby's a simple game played by 15 players on each side, and then New Zealand wins. And it seems just from what I've read and what you said, the same thing. A valiant Welsh side giving it their all, looking. Oh, no, they haven't. and it's the same again.
It is, same old story.
Yeah.
Mills, you got a chance to watch the game, pal?
I didn't. I've seen the extended highlights, and it's same old story, isn't it? Some of the tries Welsh scored are really good. How did they get on in midweek against the Chiefs?
We'll come on to that, darling. Thanks for bringing that up. In fact, let's just get it out the way now. Chiefs 40, Wales 7. We were expecting Jimbo Muir to join us tonight, and it is his team, I believe, is the Chiefs in Waikato County there. But we'll draw a line under it there then because Jimbo's not here. Is it okay? Cool.
Great chat.
Honestly, it was probably the worst I've seen Wales play in Gatland's era. Yes, you can say that it was a second string side, but they were playing against a Chiefs third string side with my granddad playing at 10, and it's the only good thing, as I've said on various platforms, is that you've got certain players now who are shown up to be what they are, and that is perfectly good club players, but just not international club players. Your likes of your Josh Turnbulls and your James Kings. So if there is a positive to come out of it, it is that these boys have been shown up, and that hopefully Gatland will see that and give it some youth now instead of bringing them back into the squad every time that there's a tour or a tournament.
Can I point out, and I think this is a conspiracy as well, that every Kiwi coach or every Kiwi person has a fail-safe computer chip installed in their brain that makes them lose to their home nation, whether it be a club side or international side. The Kiwi coaches never beat New Zealand. Robbie Deans was the worst coach we had for playing against New Zealand. The difference between an Australian and a New Zealand is the Australians want to beat. We want to beat ourselves. Eddie Jones, prime example, wants to stick it up everyone, but the Kiwis they can't. Yeah, they couldn't possibly dream of New Zealand losing, so they're useless. Therefore, we hate them. Carry on.
Yeah, that's. Guy, do you want to say anything else about it? I don't particularly.
About midweek?
Yeah.
No.
Good.
I've got one. Is it a worry that you're shipping so many points? When Gatland first came in as Sean Edwards, that was the foundation, wasn't it? Now you seem to be shipping a lot of points. I think you put it out the other day, how many points they've shipped in the last 8 tests or something.
I tweeted that out, Mill. So you're reading from the good places, pal. So what we've got is, I was going to bring this up as a point actually, is that Gatland's Wales side have been criticised massively for the attacking performances over the last certainly 18 months under what's been dubbed as Warren Ball, but the defence really has been poor. The last 7 games we've shipped an average of 24.8 points, so that's 40 against the Chiefs, 39 against the All Blacks, 27 against England in that warm-up game, then 14 against the Italians, 21 again against the English, 10 against France, and 23 against Scotland. So Sean Edwards is heralded as this, absolute defence guru, but he's not pulling his weight, or the players aren't pulling their weight as well at the moment. It's a very good point, Mills. What do you make of it, Guy?
I don't think we can play both ways. To be honest, I don't think we're at that level yet. I think it's one or the other. At the moment, we showed on Saturday how well we attack when all the boys are tuned in to the structure and we just get a bit of freedom. Liam Williams at fullback is a revelation when he just gets the freedom to go, which is why I have a small worry about Patch on Saturday, but we'll get to that in a second. But when we're attacking that much, we seem to find ourselves in positions where we just cannot get our defensive structure in place. I think our defensive structure relies on bigger kicking the ball and us chasing as a line. And when we're running it back, it just falls down and falls to bits. So we can lay the blame squarely on Sean Edwards' shoulders, but to be honest, they work together day in, day out. I don't think they're actually coming up to this game plan as a unit. I think Gatland's saying, come on, let's have a go, let's attack, let's develop it. And Sean Edwards is just picking up the pieces afterwards, trying to live off scraps.
I thought he was speaking Welsh again.
Perhaps, I mean, It is a worry, and it's a constant conversation that, you know, it's almost somewhere along the lines of the Arsenal and Arsene Wenger. You know, do we want Gatland? Do we not? I mean, I'm firmly in the Gatland in camp. Boys, as outsiders, Paul, what do you think that Wales needs just to go up that extra level? You've beaten us plenty of times over the last 18 months or so.
It's all psychological, really, isn't it? There's, you know, between the top players of all nations, there's only a couple of percent in it. All right, there's superstars to listen about here, but generally, it's in the mind, and that's where it's got to come to the coach. So, the belief and the understanding that it then develops a momentum and a habit, and that's all the All Blacks have got. They've just got a habit.
Yeah, and I guess a change in mindset for essentially the same English team, and they're producing results as well.
Yeah.
I think you need a shake-up. He's been there too long. He's played some fucking boring rugby. And in all honesty, Wales used to be the team to watch because they played exciting, you know, flair. The Welsh flair, that's completely gone. You're playing this, really boring rugby, and now the only thing you had to hang your hat on was your solid defence, and that's gone as well. So last straw for me, as far as I'm concerned.
It's a tough one, isn't it? Because obviously under Gatland we've reached the World Cup semi. We're probably unlucky not to make another World Cup semi this time round, and we got 2 Grand Slams. So people will always, you know, throw up, well, he's brought us success. It's all relative, I suppose. But yes, the enjoyment of watching, you know, Wales play, like playing that thrilling game, offloading, vast, expansive running rugby is you know, a distant memory now. We are just a battering ram. We're South Africa's little brother, essentially, in the way that we play. And yes, it's not pretty to watch, but it does bring success every now and again.
Yeah, so but it has in the past. I don't know. I can't see there being much more success, and I would attribute a lot of that success to the players themselves and the group of players you had coming through that sort of era, as opposed to it all being Gatland.
Guy, Gatland in, Gatland out, or does his backroom staff need to have a reshuffle? What do you reckon?
I think it's a backroom staff is a bit of an issue as well, because if we get rid of Gatland, then we get mini Gatland in Rob Howley.
Yeah.
We've got a bit of an issue there. We haven't really got a succession plan where we change anything at all. It's just basically we have the same man we've had this time. He's Welsh. I think Pat hit the nail on the head where we had a bit of a golden generation, but they came through at a time when we were having success in things like the Amrin Cup. I know it was a second tier, but we were beating the likes of Toulon, things like that with the Blues, where we had Jamie Roberts and people coming through, playing alongside the likes of Rush and people like that.
Yeah.
There's no real superstars in the game anymore. The money's gone. It's all gone. The Galacticos, the Ospreys are gone. And these boys are playing absolute dross week in, week out.
Yeah.
In the Robocop League, as Milton calls it. It's not even Abba directly, but he still calls it Robocop League. I think we've got a bit of an issue with the coach, yes, but we don't really have a solution for that. I think the way out of this is basically to see if we can get the regional game back under wraps. There's nothing that needs to change. We just basically need a bit more investment. We need a bit more quality around the boys we've got to bring them along and take them up that extra level.
And you need to sign the Chiefs.
I'll have a couple of them. I didn't actually watch it. I was in work, but I heard.
You don't need to watch it. You really don't.
The fullback was incredible, wasn't he?
They're just good rugby players, aren't they? They're just born with this natural gift of being able to play the game, and it's just, you know, regardless of if you're playing on the street, if you're playing in school, or if you're playing at Eden Park, they are just naturally gifted blokes, unfortunately. But gifted blokes, 15 of them on the pitch on Saturday, and, you know, who knows? We might be able to rewrite history. I very much doubt it. I'm guessing everyone's going to go for tip the All Blacks for a 5-0. Not a 5-0.
I'm not.
You're not? You're going Wales?
I'm going with Wales, and they're going to win by 4 points.
Unbelievable. So, just to recap on the teams, we've got Rhys Patchell and Luke Charteris in for Wales, with George North ruled out through a hamstring injury and Bradley Davis dropping to the bench. And the All Blacks have brought in Sam Whitelock and Israel Dagg. So Israel Dagg makes me happy because I don't think he is all that. And for an All Blacks team to be able to drop someone like Julian Sevilla, Paul, I mean, that just shows the depth they've got. He had a bit of a shaky game on Saturday. Steve Hansen.
He was fucking dreadful, Gav.
Or was it arrogance? I think the All Blacks by plenty.
Milt, what do you reckon? I think you're going to get hammered. I think it'll be nearer to 20 points. I wouldn't be surprised if it's that you're not in the game at all at any point. I think it'll be cruising. They haven't played for a long time. They've had a game to get out of their way. It's a packed house at Wellington. They don't lose many games there, so yeah, you're going to struggle. I think your team, your back three, looks weak to me as well. I don't see how you're going to really score many tries. So yeah, you're struggling. But when you mentioned the coaching, I always thought Di Young was like next on the ladder.
Only good.
Nice, I haven't heard that. The only Die Young anecdote I've heard is a prop telling him, if you carry on like that, Sunshine, you will live up to your name. when he was a nipper coming through. I really like Die Young, and I'd like to think that that he would be next in line. But the way that the clicky WRU works, like Guy said, if Gatlin went tomorrow, Rob Howley would get the job instantly, and not much would change around it. Again, a discussion for another day, perhaps. Guy, what do you reckon? Result on Saturday?
I'd like to think that we play the same way again. I have reserves about Patchell because he's a kick-first kind of player, even though he can run incredibly well. He's very fast, very skillful. But I think his mentality is to kick first with the Blues, and now he's sent for the Scarlets. If we run at the All Blacks again, we will score just as many points as we did last week, maybe more. I have no concerns about scoring points. It's the leaky defence that concerns me. I can't see us winning, but I can see it being a bit closer than last week, because I think that we may have sorted out a few issues along the lines of our wingers not being able to tackle Maholo. So I think we might have put a bit of defensive policy in to stop him, because as soon as he started running, the All Blacks scored. So All Blacks by 7 points.
Yeah, I'm going to go for something similar. I think I'm going to go all Blacks by 6. It's not very often that I don't back the Welsh boys, but there's just nothing apart from that first half that show me that we can do anything.
Wales by 4, and here's why. Gatlin's a scary dude. It was their defence that let him down. He's going to get right up him. They've had a shocker midweek, and I can't see him taking a third loss in a row very easily. And I think you'll be surprised. Kiwis will get complacent, and they'll certainly smash you in the third one. But I can see Israel Dag making a mistake. I can certainly see the Kiwis switching off, and I can see Wales sneaking it. So Wales by 4.
You've changed my mind. Come on, Wales! Yeah! Come on, Wales by 6.
Can I just say something, guys? Can I just say something before we go any further?
Turnover ball. I think we're going to keep it nice and topical. Obviously, the Euros are on at the moment, and let's discuss, if we will, the game today. Milts, did you catch the game at all? Do you know the score?
Yeah, I watched it at work. Yeah, it was. I just find the whole England football setup a shambles, but it was a good moment when they got that goal at the end. Wales played zero football. I thought they were absolutely awful, to be honest.
Sorry, I was talking about the Northern Ireland-Ukraine game, actually.
No, I didn't catch that one.
No, you're spot on. I think, I think it was an interesting game. I think in terms of the games I've seen so far, and I don't know about you boys if you've watched much of it at all either, but England have looked pretty good. They looked pretty good against Russia. They were unlucky not to score a couple more, and an interesting choice by bringing Milner on and leaked a goal at the end, which was a bit unfortunate. But it was good to see Woy stick with the team and the same sort of setup, because it yielded results today, albeit after some Eddie Jones-esque subs at half time. Gareth, how do you think the Welsh boys went? We had a chat in the car, and you didn't think they were much chopped today either.
As I said last week, I think that our boys are just happy to be at the party, to be honest. Yes, England are just a better football team than Wales. Yes, we were just relying on a moment of magic from Gareth Bale. We got it, and we just couldn't hold on to the lead. I thought our midfield outplayed the English midfield. I thought Joe Allen, Aaron Ramsey and Joe Ledley were far better than Dele Alli, Eric Dyer and Wayne Rooney. I don't think there's any denying that. You read the papers tomorrow and those boys will have better match ratings than the English boys. But yeah, no, a decent enough performance. Nearly held on for the draw, which would have been superb, but we can draw against Russia now on Monday night, and we can still qualify for the knockout stages. Absolutely superb.
Speaking of Russia and Russians, if we're talking about the Euros as a whole, Guy, I don't know if you've seen much of the news. Have you seen the sort of chaos that that these hooligans or ultras, if you will, have been causing down there? And what's your take on that?
I think the boys are just enjoying the party. It looks like the Russians have come over for scrap. There can't be much going on in Russia, so they've saved up their cash and coming to beat up some fat English bloke named Dave. So it's,
Have you seen that picture on Facebook doing the rounds about the Russian fighter against the English fighter?
yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. We'll share it on the Facebook group. Yeah. It's absolutely superb.
I'm just thinking, because we do discuss different sports here, and we are predominantly a rugby show. Is it indicative of the sport and the culture behind football or soccer, if you will, Dad, or do you think it's down to the types of fan bases, or what is it? Because you don't see this sort of behaviour at a rugby match.
No, look, people have been asking this question for a long, long time. Is it the game frustrating? There's only, a couple of goals in it. Is it because, there's particular elements that are politically motivated and therefore it doesn't matter what they're watching? Is it because you spend a lifetime being frustrated watching your team play? I'm sorry, I went away for a moment there. So it's a difficult phenomenon. I think it attracts the element who want to make a mark in some way. You can't make it in the sport, so you make it in the crowd. We've got a funny tournament this year. We seem to be in the era of the superstar. If the superstar does something well, then it's all good. Ronaldo did nothing for Portugal. No, didn't do anything, didn't score anything. Rooney's passed the ball a lot, scored nothing. Kane scored nothing. Even Bale has gone to, but that's not cutting the side to pieces.
Yeah.
Kicking goals from 35 metres with an idiotic goalkeeper, anyone can stop. And now it's devolved down. It's made it even more frustrating. So everyone watches. Has he done anything? No, he hasn't. Oh well.
Here.
And now
hey, you, let's fight.
Hey, you, let's fight. And now then, where are we? We end up just happy to be at the party. I don't know.
I think it's an interesting one. I certainly feel that as a sport, rugby, and this is purely as a player, and I'm a big fan of cricket as well. And I've played cricket, I've played soccer, and I've played rugby. And in rugby, you get frustrated at the opposition, you get frustrated in your team, you get to go and whack someone. And it certainly leaves a lot of your aggression on the field and can, join in a beer afterwards or beverage or a cup of tea, whatever your poison is after the game, and feel good about the battle on the field. In terms of football and cricket, I find because it's not contact by nature, a lot of that pent up aggression, there is no release there, and I certainly feel a lot of that overflows into the crowd as well. Gareth, do you think it's indicative of the sport itself as a game and not necessarily the fans, or?
It's a bit of both, isn't it? I mean, it's almost tribal. I mean, watching football fans from an outsider's point of view, it's just mental. You've got bankers, you've got doctors, you've got lawyers there in the crowd with their tops off, swinging around their heads, going absolutely mental, calling some, hurling some horrible abuse at people. And if they did that, 90% of English fans who go to games and give a bit of grief or whatever, if they were met with someone in the street, they'd shake their hand and they'd be the nicest person in the world to them. It's just this mentality, this tribal mentality that the club is everything. That for 90 minutes, that is everything. And obviously with the past of the hooliganism or scene of the 70s, 80s, and even early 90s. I mean. Because clubs are so steeped in history, and every club is obsessed with when it was founded, when it last won the cup. That part of that club's history, every single club will have some sort of hooliganism history, and there will be a certain minority of fans who cling on to that as what makes that's the reason that drives them to watch the football as opposed to the football itself.
Well, in terms of a sport though, because there are ancient rugby clubs, there is a long history of competition there as well, and certainly I feel that fans are no less proud of their team, but they certainly show that in a different way. Is it a class thing? Is it a socioeconomic thing? I tend to not think that, but that's a lot of the vibe as well. Milts, what do you reckon?
Well, football is traditionally the working man's game, isn't it? And it stems from that. And Gaz is right about the tribal thing. You think every major or even small town and city in England has a football team and identifies with that football team. And a lot of the poorer culture you associate with football supporters, and when you'd also comply when Brits go abroad, they behave quite badly, and when you combine the two, you're going to get pretty bad football hooliganism. Also, the idiots that put an 8 o'clock kickoff on a baking hot day in Marseille. I mean, you are asking for trouble. England-Russia, 8 o'clock kickoff, baking hot day in Marseille. It's crazy. And then you give Russia the World Cup 2 years later. That's going to be fun. Absolutely crazy.
Definitely. Dad, you grew up in the 1860s and 70s. Oh, sorry, no. The 60s and 70s in England. What was football hooliganism, if you will, a factor? Was it present? Was it visible? Were you aware of it?
Yes, no, maybe wasn't. But it was. It came on later. The hooliganism was basically from I think the early 80s and 90s more than, and then it sort of reached a peak probably around 20 years ago, and then been really addressing it. I think things that have happened is the early professionalism of the game. Rugby hasn't been professional that long, and so I think supporters of rugby tend to identify and rate themselves not only through their team, whereas you had working class people in the football who work whatever job they do or don't work during the week, and then their one moment to shine, their one defining moment was how well their football team did or didn't do on the weekend. And if you couldn't win on the field, you had to win on the terrace. And if you couldn't win the singing contest, then you had to win the fighting contest. And that then developed its own momentum as a means by which to establish your worth that removed it from the actual sport and was all about the pack mentality. And no, that wasn't around in the 60s. It came later. We had, stadiums being set on fire and people in stampedes and, no-go areas and streets and fan separations.
And now alcohol bans and what have you, it all followed suit.
Yeah.
To get really political, let's go really deep here. Just before we finish up with turnover ball, do you think the closure of the big hit to the mining industry and the Margaret Thatcher years, could that have been a big influence and certainly factor in the rise of hooliganism?
I think that was certainly a time where tensions were running high and that people were trying ways to voice their their concerns and their beliefs. I mean, now it's much easier. You lob a Facebook status up if you've got something on your mind, and if other people agree with it, they grab it, they go with it. All of a sudden, it's got 10,000 shares, and you don't have to step outside. Back in those days, you had to go outside. You had to physically get your voice out there. If people thought that they could do that by on the picket line, then do it on the picket line. If that spills over into football, then as we've already mentioned, that football was and probably still is the working class game. So it's likely that the same people on the picket line would have been the same people on the terraces. So a platform's a platform.
Certainly, and I guess it's good now that it is very much the world game, and I think everyone's just happy to be at the party, to be honest.
Everyone tick off the list. Party bingo is complete. Thank you, Patty. And plenty more of that next week. Boys, we'll finish off with our new feature. Seeing as Corsi can't join us today, we will go for Size Matters. We trialled it last week. We loved it. We're going for it again. Now, Corsi got none out of 4 last week, and Jimbo got 1 out of 4. So, boys, I'm hoping you're going to be a little bit better. The premise is very simple. I'll give you 2 players, and I will ask you whether... Well, you can tell me who is bigger, who is smaller, or if they are the same size. And we're talking height. So, first up, unfortunately there won't be locking horns this weekend, but it is David Pocock and Chris Robshaw. So, Paddy, who is taller?
That's a difficult one because neither are particularly tall. I know Pocock isn't that tall. I'm going to say Robshaw.
Paul?
Same size.
Paul's going same size. Guy, what do you reckon?
Chris Robshaw. by an inch.
Milt?
Rob Short, I reckon by 2 inches.
Ooh. I can reveal that David Pocock is 1 metre 81. That is 5 foot 11 inches.
My height.
And Chris Robshaw is 1 metre 88. That's 6 foot 2. So Pat, Guy, and Milt all have 1 point. Paul, you're already lagging, pal, on 0.
Jet lag.
Jet lag. How long have you been over here?
3 weeks.
There we go. Next up, they will be on the field on Saturday facing up. We've got Rhys Webb against Aaron Cruden. Milt, who do you reckon? Rhys Webb, Aaron Cruden. Who's bigger, who's smaller, or are they the same size?
I'm saying same size.
Milt's is going same size. Guy, what do you reckon?
Same size, 5'10", both.
Paul?
Rhys Webb.
Rhys Webb. Paddy?
I was thinking same size, but I hate to agree with those morons, so I'm going to go Rhys Webb.
You're going Rhys Webb. You're going Rhys Webb. The boys are going same size. Rhys Webb is 1 metre 83. Ooh. That is 6 foot
on the button.
On the nose. Aaron Cruden, 1 metre 75.
Yes,
5'9". He would be the shortest bloke in the group.
How did you not see that?
He spiked his hair up. There's no way he's 6 foot. He's not 6 foot.
Hey, you get on the internet, Flower. You get on the internet. So that puts Paul on 1, Guy and Milt on 1, Patty out in front on 2. Alan Wynne-Jones and Jerome Kino. Paddy.
It's an interesting one, actually, because you don't think Alan Wynne-Jones is that tall, but I bet he is tall. And Kino seems to have a presence, but I bet he's not that tall. And because you've gone 1 either way, I'm doing a guy here. I'm gonna go same size.
Patty is going same size. Paul, what do you reckon?
Ditto, same size.
Same size for Paul. Milt?
I'm going Alan Wynne-Jones.
Going Alan Wynne. Guy?
Alan Wynne-Jones by an inch.
Alan Wynne-Jones by an inch. Alan Wynne-Jones is 1 metre 96. Ooh. That is 6 foot 5. Jerome Kino, surprisingly old, he's 33. Didn't know that. Is 1 metre 96.
Oh, yes!
6 foot 5. Patty, 100% record. 3 from 3. Paul is out in front now of Guy and Milts. Paul on 2, Guy and Milts on 1, and it comes down to the final one.
And I've never heard of any of these players.
Hey, Dad, you're just happy to be at the party.
Yeah, yeah.
The final one, we have Michael Hooper up against George Ford. Milts, will come to you first. Michael Hooper, George Ford.
Oh, I'm saying same size.
Luke Milton's going same size. Guy, where are you going?
Hooper by a fair whack.
Hooper by a fair whack. Pat?
Yeah, I think Hooper's taller than people expect. Just to drop out there, I've actually played him in rugby, so from memory on the field, he was. Yeah, I'm going to go Hooper.
Paul?
Hooper's a midget. I'll go with the other guy.
One for the other guy, George Ford.
I can reveal that Michael Hooper is 1 metre 78.
Get fucked.
5 foot 10, great size. George Ford,
he's taller.
1 metre 78. He's 5 foot 10, same size. Milts gets it right. So the final standings: in 4th place with 1 out of 4, pitiful effort, is Guy Griffiths. Joint second or third, whatever way you want to put it, is our special guest Paul Andrews and Luke Anthony Milton. And 3 out of 4, not a bad effort at all, Patty, is our champion for this week and our reigning record holder. Well, new record holder. Patrick Andrews, how do you feel?
Yeah, really good. It's been a long week, and I'm going to hold on to this, and just really glad to be at the party.
Good stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, gents, for joining me. Paul, been an absolute pleasure. Patty, pleasure as always. Luke and Guy, thank you very much for joining me. You're at home. Thanks for listening. This has been Dropout 22, a GD Media production.